So what brings you back to St. Paul?
Well, there's been some significant changes with respect to the legislation, some significant announcements from the government. Unfortunately, I don't have a lot of good news. The Alberta Land Stewardship Act concentrates powers in the cabinet to rescind water licenses and mineral leases and oil and gas leases, grazing leases, timber harvest agreements, all those sorts of things. And as well as making restrictions on access to compensation and access to the courts if you don't like the decision the cabinet's made affecting your land or your business or your activity. And the Premier had suspended the legislation on October 2nd and conducted a review for the Property Rights Task Force. They reported that overwhelmingly Albertans asked for the laws to be repealed, and on the 21st of February, a couple of weeks ago, the Premier announced that they're moving ahead with the legislation. She's lifting the suspension. It's full steam ahead, and the only thing they're prepared to do is create this office called the Property Rights Advocate. And the problem with that is this advocate has no powers. All he has the ability to do is file a report with the legislature. So if the cabinet acts to restrict your land and take your rights away, this advocate will have nothing he can do for you. He's basically a grief counselor. And that's one of the things I wanted to talk about today. We had a number of indications from the government that they were going to review a lot of the concerns, and we now have their announcements. They announced on February 22nd rather, that they're going ahead with all the Bill 50 transmission lines that are going to affect all of us in our power bills, and we already see how those are going up. And we now know what's happening with Bill 24 and Bill 36. It's full steam ahead. They're not going to back off and restore some of the rights they took or lessen any of their powers.
So for those of you who can see it, it says it is hereby declared that the pore space below the surface of all land in Alberta is vested in and is the property of the Crown and the right of Alberta. What was yours is now theirs. That's all they had to do. Past that section. They just took a chunk of your property rights. Took it. Okay? Wait a second. Back at Osgoode Hall, we were taught as lawyers, or soon-to-be lawyers, that if the government uses its lawmaking powers to take from you some of your property rights, it's deemed to be an expropriation. Expropriation Act applies, and they have to pay you compensation if you make a claim. Well, the lawyers that were advising the government also went to law school. So here's the section they put in right after that. It is deemed for all purposes, including the purposes of the Expropriation Act, that no expropriation occurs as a result of the enactment of this section.
The overwhelming message at these meetings. In Olds, for example, they had 350 people showed up. They were expecting 60. They had hundreds show up in Hannah, hundreds show up in Medicine Hat. And the message was the same in Brooks. Repeal these laws. These laws do not reflect Alberta's values. We don't need this level of bureaucracy. We don't need this level of central planning, of control by the cabinet and the politicians in the cabinet. And they've chosen to go against what they heard from Albertans. It's a decision they've made. And I'm surprised by it. I didn't expect it. I expected they would actually repeal these laws because it was so clear that that's what needed to happen. But Premier Redford has said the option of us changing these laws is off the table. If you don't like these laws, you only have one choice left, and that's to vote us out. She made that choice. I didn't. Albertans didn't. No other political party did. And in this election, all of the political parties except for the PCs, the New Democrats, the Wild Rose, the Liberals, have all said they would immediately repeal all these bills, all these laws. So now Albertans have a choice, and they need to look at the different political parties, in my opinion, and decide which of these parties best reflect their values, and pick one of them, and to stop these laws. It's the only way we can do it.